You weren't joking about this being your own goodie basket, because none of these seem good.
No, they're good.
Chocolate bars. These are these are bougie snacks. It's the polar opposite of Scooby snacks. Don't put that right in front of the mic.
Scooby-Doo, if you come through, you're gonna have yourself a bougie snack. It's a trap.
Now, what are these chocolate-covered things? Are those what is the thing?
Almonds?
I don't like almonds that much.
Good.
The chocolate, is this solid chocolate?
Mm-hmm.
That'll probably be the closest thing. The fact that
these are
you have
chocolate
to acknowledge, I'm not huge into pretzels either. Plus, you gotta admit, the fact that it comes in a basket is like, this is a bougie snack.
Well, sure, but I work in a multi-million-dollar company, so...
Oh, so that's what this is from. You didn't just buy this for yourself.
No! This is Christmas stuff.
Oh, okay. You're on thin ice.
With my... So bouge.
No, I'm just imagining posh Scooby-Doo, except Scooby-Doo's a horse or something. It's about a traveling polo team.
What? Like school.
Bougie-Doo. That sounds really stupid, though.
Bougie-Doo. Bougie-Doogie-Doo.
That sounds weirder when you do it like that. Douchey-doo, I think you need to recognize that that's a problematic.
I didn't say douchey-doo.
But it certainly could sound that way. Wait, what? Are we logged into the wrong one? Did we do this on... Whose account did we do this on?
Mine?
I thought so. And it is in the storage unit. I know that much for certain.
Is it not? Is it in the
Storage unit's in. How do I... well, sure. I don't know why it always says that. So if you're... I'm going to try mine. It says, if you're playing a game, you'll lose your progress. But it's like, that's not a guaranteed... It's if you're playing and haven't saved, you'll lose your progress. They make it sound as if you're playing at all, you'll lose your progress.
Well, I think they're saying
if you're playing at all, you'd be back later.
You'd have lost progress.
Yes, I know. In the end. Because I'm confident in the storage device. I know that from previous editing. Well, so it is on mine.
Huh.
And this is...
Well, I'll be done.
Here's the thing. We're at 130. That's the autosave. And here's the previous autosave. Both of these, I think, are post-accident where we need to save what's-her-face. This is a long way back. This is a whole day's worth of progress if we were to go back. Because the problem we're having is that we don't have much ammo for this fight. I'll see, because this is a difference of like 20 minutes. I mean, I can't imagine that's going to make a difference, but maybe it'll be enough, because we're just going to need to... I don't think we're going to make it through this without a proper stocking.
So
you took the chips away. You left me with the bougie snacks.
Well, you were the one griping about the loud noises.
Oh, yeah, because you put it right under the thing.
Just...
What is... Oh, that was 2.
So I found that Stephen Knight is actually far more prolific than I gave him credit.
Well, see, that's what I was tempted to tell you that the film was him. But I was also like, I know he'll notice, because I noticed on the title screen. I was like, okay, interesting.
I'm interested.
Which means now you're going to have to introduce the topic you're clearly angling for. Never mind. I thought maybe we'd have enough.
I'll stay and cover you.
I'm going to attempt... I'm going to do some recon runs in which I don't expect to make progress. Just to see... Oi! Wow.
He just reminded you really won't be. I'm doing some recon runs. Yeah, you know you're not.
Put me back in the place. I just don't... Did we not have this on HD setting last time? Because this feels much cleaner than it did. I don't know why.
Well, you shared with me that tidbit of. Well, I think both of us, to be fair, are doing a bit of poking around at the various both actors and
That's not why, but
directors of our various.
in fact,
for
entirely
instance,
not why. That was a total surprise to me.
Yeah, but I mean, like for instance, with Arcane, you ended up kind of experimenting with all the various.
Well, I got into the
subsets
Riot's
of-
weird music career, which is fascinating.
Yeah. Well, like KDA is like its own thing.
Well,
I
yeah, they're
didn't know
big,
as I
except that they
started
don't
that.
actually have that much, which is what's sad about them. I mean, they've only. No.
Anyway, but
They've
you
only, I
had
think,
sent
done
me
one short
the,
album.
You had sent me
Pentakill
the,
is also very cool, though. I haven't looked at
Pentakill is a different album.
No, that's Riot's other fake band that's metal instead of pop.
Oh, well, I'll have to check
They're
that
actually
out.
pretty good. I told you about them because it's got Yornland and the chick from Battle Beast in it. It's like they have some heavy hitters for a fake metal
But
band.
see, they do that with KDA. I feel like too.
Maybe, but I didn't. The heavy hitters were lost on me. It's like, okay, I recognize Bay Miller, and that's it. But it's like the other one's a K-pop Korean group that I wouldn't have known of.
Yeah, but certain lyrics are in
Certain lyrics.
aren't they? Like,
Certain
when I
lyrics.
looked up
Certain
like, the
lyrics are in
of-
Korean, yes.
Yeah, that's what I mean in
But-
KDA.
Well, that's because it's a K. Part of it is a K-pop group. They wrote it. It's an American company. They wrote those for those people.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that was just going to happen.
Like not just to have.
Okay, your bougie snacks elude me.
So you had mentioned
unrefined way to open this.
you were kind of poking around at Tom Hardy's.
I was poking around Tom Hardy. It wasn't. See, that's not why though. I didn't do it because it was him.
Well, then how? Okay, so question: how did you come across
I
the
am a
movie
sucker.
Locke,
I am a sucker
2013?
for. I've described this before.
You're
Where
just a sucker.
if a YouTube video says something along the lines of like, this is how I found Arcane, for example. It was because it was about like the best animation shows of 2021. Oh, I'm about to eat that. Is it not good? Well, maybe I'm not if I can't get it out of the packaging. Should I bother? Is it wafery? Or does it have chocolate in it? Is it
No,
pure
I mean,
chocolate
it's
or
definitely
is it,
chocolate, but it's
is it dark chocolate? It looks like it could be.
it's not dark chocolate because I've had dark chocolate. Well, yeah, maybe it is.
Because I don't like dark chocolate. The thing I'm supposed to pull on just came off.
The bougie snacks are giving you the.
I'm unrefined. I'm seriously gonna have to get out a frickin' implement.
And then the bougie police are gonna watch and go, "Are you using a knife to open our?"
All right. Okay. So this was a compilation that said something. It was like a running series of, and this is what made it sort of silly. It was just this person's opinion of, like a compilation of the best scenes of acting performance in film history.
From various.
And it was just a-
from film history.
Well, that was the claim, and I was like, "That's a bold claim." It's one I recognize clickbait, but that doesn't. I'm still like, okay, I know you're being inflammatory, but I am curious as to what you're going to talk about.
Well, that's the definition of clickbait.
Well, now some clickbait is like tabloid, where I'm like, I'm not
Yeah.
even going to bother because I know how stupid that is.
Yes, but how did they know?
That's not fully dark chocolate, but it's
It is
darker than I
definitely
prefer.
darker than most.
Ugh. That's why I don't like almonds. Tastes like styrene.
Styrene?
Yes. So,
Have you just ingested styrene frequently?
the texture. I've fallen through a ceiling. I know what synthetic materials feel like. So, I was watching this just out of curiosity, and this film came up, and I knew it was Tom Hardy then, and I do have a affinity for Tom Hardy because I like the other things he's done. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, that's kind of sounds fascinating, and the scene was interesting. So I thought, all right, I'll give that a check out.
Which scene was it that popped?
The one when he's, well, spoilers, I guess, we're starting now. The one when he's when he's hypothetically speaking to his father.
Oh, gotcha. See, that was the only part
That
of the
was
movie
not the scene that I found
was
most
actually
moving.
interesting.
Wow. Well, there's the teaser for what your opinions are.
My opinions are not quite as cut and dry as I'm making them sound right now.
Make them sound awfully cutting.
But go ahead. Sorry.
So this is. Okay, so.
Dicentiuno!
Well, because I'm trying to think, because after the sewers, we went to our building, like the office building. So that's a ways back. But I'll remember when we did go back to the office building last time we tried it, we couldn't get out into the street to buy stuff.
So
this might be the only way we can buy things, and I think we're gonna need to. We're in a chat heavy mood, so if this takes longer than normal, who cares? So I saw it from that, and I was like, I'm curious enough based on this scene alone, and I like Tom Hardy. I was like, all right, sure, I'll give that a look, because I'm not hard to sell on a movie. If you just tell me like, oh, this is what it's about, and this is who it stars, and I will know very quickly whether or not that will appeal to me. So you don't have to try and like, here's why you should care. I'll know, and I was interested. So I was like, all right, fine. I watched it because it was on Wednesday. I was like, I'm in the mood to watch something. Don't know what. I didn't know that it was going to be as like heavy of a movie as it was. Yeah. So I wasn't looking for like something deeply, philosophical and moving. Is this after I succeeded? I think this is after I defused the bomb. I hope, because I don't want to have to do this again. Come on now. It looks diffused to me. Okay, so this is after we did this. So literally all we're gonna do is go back up to the street. I'll buy some stuff, and then everything after this was just cutscenes. Oh no, I did have to kill what's his head. Oh no, we had to. Okay, so there's a bit to go through, but
that's right.
We've done it before. We'll be all right. Because we're gonna need ammo. I know that for certain. Because even
not just ammo, we probably should try to upgrade ourselves.
Yeah, even for more than that fight, we're gonna no. I fell into electrified sewage. Why is it electrified sewage?
What a way to go.
Why does sewage need electrification is the question.
Just in case people are trying to steal poo? I don't know.
It's like North Korea. So anyways, I watched it based on that, and I was admittedly, I can maybe see where you're coming from, because the first 10 to 20 minutes, I was like, I hadn't sort of figured out what he was doing yet. So it was like, this is a very odd way to pace a film. They're making some odd choices, and then as I obviously realized, okay, they're doing this deliberately, and that was what made it kind of intriguing. So I can maybe understand. It felt
very much like
it's an art film.
Yes, definitely. That's a great way of describing it.
And that what? I know. Oh, it's going. You're gonna have to manually load every time, because it's gonna boot you to the autosave rather than that save. Oh, that's unfortunate. It premiered at a film festival. It had a very limited theater release, so it's
that makes
it was
total sense.
And is that a negative to you, though?
It's not. No. I would like to know your opinions.
It is that way. It's far from a blockbuster. I remember thinking, even after I decided that I was like, okay, this has got me interested, I did think I wouldn't have wanted to see this in a theater, because this is not a theater-going movie. This is a sit at home, with your slippers on and a glass of brandy or something. This is a very posh, not posh in a aristocratic sense, but this is very much like an art heavy movie. Yeah. So it would be appreciated by art critic people.
That topic alone, just to jump on that for a second.
That not the, so you have another reason for being a little bit more.
No. That topic alone made the movie, because I, as somebody who appreciates
bougie snacks.
As bougie snacks and to a lesser degree bougie art films.
Lesser degree, really?
It definitely did that well, and it was. It's not a friendly.
No, and you gotta move. I like how you stared it down.
Okay,
you're still alive.
I'm trying to.
Wait, I don't think.
I'm holding it.
I don't think picking. I'm astonished that didn't kill you. Why didn't it kill you? I got killed by electrified poo. Why did you get to tank 80 bullets to the face? I think you'll need to go. You might need to go up that ladder eventually. I'm just imagining the turrets from Portal. Just there you are. I don't think you can go out this way. I think you have to go down the other
throw
corridor.
something down at it?
You could throw yourself down and probably die.
Then I will die with one of them. Okay, that's not what I meant to do. Let's see here.
Yeah, actually, I didn't think so. You're gonna have to go out the other door.
There's a door here.
Out the electrified poo hole. I knew that was gonna happen. I joked that was gonna happen.
So in that way, I think it was a good. If I were to have seen it in the context of this is a.
So I should have prepped you for its.
No, I think that non-prepping was fine. If it took me a second, a good
It took
long
me,
while.
but how much is a second? Because you. It took
was
me
probably,
like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I was probably 20 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes into the movie, and I was going.
But you were awfully like. Your previous comment seemed dismissive. It's like that was the only interesting part.
It felt very much like a independent art.
Well, it is.
Experiment.
The budget was $2 million.
Malik, we've got.
Which obviously is a lot of money to the average person.
But I mean, that's actually
but in film, that's like
cheap
peanuts.
Yeah, that's a fairly
like
cheap
a
film.
$10 million film is like, wow, that's a real low budget.
Yeah.
So the fact that this is barely $2. Because I remember looking it up because I actually had a thought. I was like,
they didn't film much, to be honest.
no, it's one actor and one set, and that's it. So again, I was mostly impressed by how it did so much with so little, which again the argument could be made that it's like, well, do you appreciate it because of what it is or because of its technical skill? And I think it's both.
Yes.
Because I think its message and its sort of theme is equally
now,
impactful. But I will admit that the technical aspect is more impressive to me.
Sure. So unpack that a bit. What do you feel like the main thrust of the film's
I feel like
message
the fact that this is a man who's screwed up in broad terms. I don't want to spoil too much. Because again, I think people should watch it. If you're a burgeoning film buff, this I would say is absolutely required because it is in itself a sort of a class in doing a lot with very little in film.
Well, and especially if you're a fan of Tom.
And in independent film context.
Right.
So not to spoil, it's like this is about a guy who's made a mistake in his past, and he is now
recent past. I mean,
relatively recent, yes, but not like you're seeing entirely the aftermath of it, and I think that the element that they repeat several times, which is because I mean you mentioned he has a few points throughout the film a sort of conversation in his head with his father, who you presume is either dead, or no, if you know for certain is dead, who he had a very bad relationship with.
Sure. And
which he's essentially saying, I know that I've screwed up, but I'm going to face the consequences of my having screwed up, and that's the whole point of the film. Is it's in real time. It's an hour and a half long film. It's very short, and it takes place over an hour and a half long trip. And I thought that was equally fascinating. So, there is a certain nobility in its acknowledgement of,
you okay, sweetheart?
You can still do the right thing, and the fact that he basically goes into several kind of confrontations, as you were, in which he's fully aware that it's like, okay, I'm probably going to lose my job because of this. These other things are probably going to happen, and I'm going to do the right thing anyway. Son of a gun! Ah! I was about to say, so help me.
Speak of the devil. He just pops up.
I am the son of a gun.
Ah!
This is my father.
What's
This is not the guy who sells me stuff, though.
It
is.
I think I just peeked the mic by accident.
Well, that's not the first time. I can get rid of stuff, and I can buy stuff.
Let's get rid of some things, because there's some things we hardly use.
Well, we do use most of these guns, but not when they're out of ammo. This is a must, and this is a must. We've been riding on them for, like, the whole thing.
Sure.
I suppose we don't need both revolver and pistol, but...
At that point, which
Pistol
one is
ammo is a lot more common. Revolvers is much more powerful.
Ooh.
But we have the sniper rifle and the shotgun. It's like... Power isn't exactly our concern, and revolver ammo is kind of rare.
So let's just ditch that one.
I don't want to because I like it, but I do think we're practically... Mines. EMP mines. We have one of these. I'm going to buy a double because I believe there's two... Oh, thank goodness. I believe there's two robots in that fight that we have to take out, and I don't want to use any ammo on them.
So, sorry. So
I
you
something,
think...
or you?
But, so the
I
actual
think that was just- I
thrust
think
of
it's-
the films... Like, if you were to come away with a message from the film, what would it be?
I don't know that it's so much a message because that sounds preachy, but it's essentially... I think it's inspiring to see a man to acknowledge he's going, I screwed this up. I have to do the right thing, and it's going to cost me, and I'm going to do it anyway. I think that there was an element of respectability in the character, even though he's, you learn what exactly he's done that was the screwing up, and it's obviously not a good thing. But just the certainty with which he says, I am still going to do the right thing and fix this as best as I can. I think that that's just a positive kind of thing. I think it's a positive message. I think it's a positive... I mean, I wouldn't say it's like, it's a positive role model type thing, but I think it's... I am an idiot. I was selling that stuff, not buying it. I just sold a bunch of our ammo. I mean, I'm going to buy it back because I'm going to buy it from him, but I feel silly.
Be of service.
Because I was going to say, this isn't much of this ammo stuff, but that would be why. Okay, this stuff first. Oh, we could buy upgrades for our guns! How much money do we got? We got a lot of cash because we haven't bought anything for a long time. Do you disagree? It seems as though you do.
I think I had a far more meta-analysis of it.
Okay. What does that exactly mean?
So I believe that that the message was, or the
They're not going to let me buy some of the stuff I
the thrust
bought
of
back.
its...
I sold him rifle ammo. I know I did, and I don't see it here.
What phrase would you use other than message?
Because
intent?
message...
The intent of the
I would
film
say theme. I mean, because I think that is
sure.
all... I think that's what it is.
was not as much to bring...
Well, because I think it doesn't acknowledge... It's not like everything can be fixed, but more like... Because that's too saccharine. It's a little bit like everything... You can still do the right thing, even if it's going to cost you, and it's still the right thing to do.
That part...
This is nothing I need, dude.
I don't know that part came through for me. I think the way I received it was far more that they were trying to draw out that even if you try to minimize collateral damage, that these types of things, and I'm not going to try to give away anything, but these types of choices carry weight, period. In a culture that says,
But I think that's a recognition of that, because I think the character fully recognizes that.
Yes, true.
And accepts it and does the right thing anyways. Like, he knows I can't really... Well, there are moments when he's got a bit of, like, he's trying to tell himself it's going to be okay. Like, it can be fixed. But I think by the end, you can sort of tell that he knows it can't be, but that he has to do what he's doing anyways because it's still the right thing to do. Damage upgrades would be useful. Ammo capacity would be useful.
So I understand now kind of what you think the film was communicating.
I'm not happy about the
That's,
lack
I think,
of...
maybe the best way of...
I'm genuinely going to reload because I sold some stuff that I wasn't able to buy back, which is really stupid. Well, thank goodness it's done this, but I'm still going to do this.
So, what was your other, like, what was the main wins for you, I think, in the film?
What is win? That's such a vague concept.
Like, meaning, you came away with it going, I really liked this. What parts about the film as a whole really made you go, this was great?
I think a lot about it. I mean, really, I think that it's...
I'm not specifically
theme.
asking you to defend as much
I think
as
its
I
theme
want to
is something that I believe is a noble thing to say.
Okay.
That this is, this is true. That, you can't escape the consequences of your actions, and facing them is it's the best solution there is, even though it won't fix it. It's like, that is just, it's a bit of a, the bitter pill. It's like, that's true, and it's not fun, and the film fully acknowledges that it's not like, just do the right thing and everything will be easy. But it's the acknowledgement that the fact that it isn't easy is kind of why it's the right thing. So that I think is a good part of it. And then I admit that a large chunk of my appreciation for it is simply the fact that it does so much with so little.
Yeah.
I think if you were a sort of growing film critic, but even if you're interested in the concept of like indie film,
yeah,
this is like, I mean, again, $2 million is huge, but that's, I mean, I don't know how much that went towards.
That's not very much, though. Honestly.
I mean, it isn't, but that's not like, if you're an independent guy, that's not going to be your first indie film, certainly.
Well, but how much revenue is the
it did $5 million and considering its limited release, that's actually pretty good. That's why I looked that up, because I remember thinking, this seems like the kind of film that probably got really critically praised and probably didn't do well, because it's not a blockbuster, go see it in theaters kind of movie.
Right.
So that's why I was happy when I looked, because $5 million equally is nothing in Hollywood.
Sure.
But the fact that the budget was so cheap made that still be a profit. And I was like, that made me happy to know that it actually still succeeded, technically. So...
Where was this at in Tom Hardy's career?
2013, so this would have been post Dark Knight, I think. If not, I think it was certainly post Inception. Do you know when Inception came out?
I don't remember.
Do you have a device to look that up?
I don't write it.
Mine is here, but I don't.
How may
it's
I
not
be
out,
so
and I'm the one controlling this.
I
believe it was. It's actually not long before Peaky Blinders started, so this could have been how Tom Hardy and Stephen Knight got introduced, potentially. I don't know that, but it could be. So all this guy has is shotgun shells and 10mm. So I'm actually just going to have to buy the ammo he's got, and I'm not going to sell the revolver because it's the only ammo he's got.
So...
I do have plenty of upgrades, though. That'll be helpful. I need an EMP grenade. I'm just going to stock up.
The reason I wanted to get
win.
a vibe or a gauge for what you thought about the film as a whole is because I wanted to see it through your perspective to a degree. I went into the film obviously not knowing anything about it. And I had the same experience you did, which is within the first 20 minutes I was like initially I was going, okay, when does this drive-in and the film actually start? And then it was like, okay, this is the film. Like, it took me a bit.
Well, because the central premise, and this is how you know it'll be very much an art film, and again, not spoiler, is it's an hour-and-a-half long film that takes place over the course of an hour-and-a-half long car ride. Which
already was very arty.
Yes, and the man is on his way to address the fallout of the problem he's created. And on the way is calling various people, essentially as part of his
collateral damage.
Yeah, where it's like, okay, he's talking to his boss because he's realizing that he's having to, in order to do the right thing, he's having to drop a work project that is a big deal, and then he's trying to also sort of do as much as he can to help that project, because again, even though
the one part about it I would consider to be fairly noble, that I even went, wow, that's interesting, is that even after a significant upset in his career, he was like, I'm still gonna do what I can do based on, like, it didn't cause him to go, well, forget, you guys.
Well, again, that's why. So I think you can certainly agree with the fact that, flawed as he is, this is a decent person doing what's right. Or even if you take intention with the decent person aspect, it's like, this is a person doing what's right in the face of a very difficult situation of their own creation.
Would you consider him to be like a Aristotelian virtuous person?
I don't know why you say Aristotelian as opposed to any of the other.
Well, I mean, virtuousness is a fairly Aristotelian concept.
Well, no, Plato had his own virtues, and I mean that's why Aristotelian specifically. Do you say that for a reason, or just?
I'm just saying the idea that, specifically with Aristotle, he had this notion that virtue was less about moral absolutism.
The idea it's about it's what not what
it's
you
balance. It's a little.
It's
Taoist.
not about. And again, he was the one who said, virtue is not a action; it's a habit. It's because you are what you repeatedly do.
Right. Well, not even it's a state of mind almost in that.
I'm not.
He almost believed that if you built the thought processes and frameworks in your mind of this is who this is how I want to live my life, you would become a virtuous person not because of your actions representing a particular ethical code, but because it would just be a respectable choices, so in that way I would say maybe that would apply to him.
So this is not going to be as much of a boost as I thought it would to our... I mean, this is giving us probably just enough to get by. I don't have room for this stuff, which is dumb because I'm going to use it and then it's going to go away. So I'm going to have to drop a weapon just so I can buy the upgrades and then pick the weapons back up after I've upgraded them, which is silly, but... Laser targeting would be very useful in the sniper rifle because it doesn't have an aiming reticule. And that means I can't fire it from the shoulder very well. And I'm going to need it for this fight, so I might buy that. I'm going to need everything, though. I don't know what... I guess I could drop all the ammo. Alright. You've been contending with my opinion. You should... Oh, I can get rid of that.
I'm not
so give your own.
So
you started from asking for mine, so I'm saying what is yours as opposed to...
I will walk through my my experience of the film. So first 20 minutes, I was definitely going, okay, where's the film? Like this is there's a film here. First 15 minutes, I'm going, okay, what's going on? It's paced incredibly.
Well, it's real time,
methodical.
Well, exactly. So
it's not slow.
No, because I think they managed to create a remarkable amount of tension for a film that has essentially no stakes.
Yes.
No physical stakes. Obviously, that this guy's life is sort of falling apart in a way. So there's emotional stakes, but nothing is happening that would make you go, what's it like? He's in danger. It's all purely like I think the fact that they make it so that every time the phone rings, you go, oh crap, what's going to go wrong next? It's like that's a hard thing to do to make people think the sound of a phone is a dread-inducing thing.
Yeah. As the film progressed, I was able to appreciate it for what it was, which was an art film. Very much so. I would say if you do not categorize it as that in your head, you're probably going to have an initially bad time with it. Only because...
But I wouldn't describe it as a bad time initially. I think you'd have to be willing to let it be that.
Right. Because...
Alright, so what can I actually use these on?
It's not a film I would have chosen to see had I known what was in it.
Really? Well, then I'm glad I didn't tell you. Because I also thought I could tell you, I could forewarn you of its artness, but I thought that wouldn't put you off as much.
It's not that the artness that
what should I upgrade?
That actually is what kept me watching.
Well, then why would it?
It's the...
Well, so you're saying on its surface it doesn't pass an elevator pitch.
Sure.
Okay, well that I think is a more... Because when you say having known what it is, that you do know what it is now, and you were just... So that sounds like you said, I wouldn't have watched this knowing what it is.
Meaning, I wouldn't have watched it, meaning...
If you had told me it's an art film.
No, see, it's not about it being an art film.
Should I upgrade shotgun damage? Because it's the thing we use the most, but it already has high damage.
I would upgrade the what's it called? The combat rifle, because that one is a far more...
But we have so little ammo for it for this fight.
Yeah, but can we pick more up?
I mean, down the line, but we could also buy more upgrades later. For the fight, I'm gonna be relying on this a lot, and I mean, I could upgrade the pistols, maybe the revolver since it's already high damage. But I'm gonna stick with my homeboy because it's what I know. I'm going to slap this on the rifle, which now means I can aim that from the shoulder without the scope. What's the rest of this?
What's your plan?
The art part of it was not what bothered me. What it was that as a film, because it was a very art heavy film, I would use the word, and it's gonna sound more scathing than I mean it to be, but it was incredibly mundane. It was a normal guy, arguably,
Yes.
living his life.
Well, but
on
it's
film.
not just it's probably the most critical moments of his life.
Is it though?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the stuff that happens here isn't stuff that can be undone, and it's definitely stuff that's going to change the course of his life forever.
Is it though?
Yes.
Well, I mean,
I don't think there's... I mean, the film makes a pretty clear point that it's like, what he's doing will change his life.
yes, that part is true.
And that's part of why
And
I think it's
that's
significant.
But it's significant, but it's also incredibly...
This doesn't seem useful to me.
It's just...
Ooh.
It's...
Ooh.
What?
It's exploding bullets for the revolver. I mean, we
It
got
was
the
just
cash.
banal, I suppose.
That's
It was very...
That's too strong. Mundane is a word that doesn't have to have the bad connotation.
It just
Banal,
felt...
I think, does have a negative connotation.
It just felt very much like, sure, life is
buy both of
heavy.
these.
There are times that you make decisions, you make mistakes, and those are heavy mistakes. And that part was communicated well in the film, but it was just very human. It just felt like
But that's precisely what I think was good about it.
it was what was good and it was both good and bad about it. Like
I
that
don't think it was bad at all.
because
Hey-oh.
I said hey.
We could also probably use some bigger storage.
The reason I say it was both good and bad is because what are you...
I'm
is it-
attempting to cram as much into the inventory as possible, so I'm gonna really have to play some Tetris, and this is not good Tetris, but I never liked Tetris. Alright, picking up all the ammo, which is not much. Thanks, Frickwith. I don't know why I did such a bizarre... That ended up feeling like it was part of the...
It just...
You wanna read
there's a
some
part
R?
of me watching a film that I want either to be watching...
What were you doing there the whole time? I didn't know
He
you were
seemed
there,
a little
dude.
bit like right behind the door, like he was leering a little bit more.
I mean,
than-
I suppose that's a useful spot for the bodyguard, to have the advantage, but... okay, we got better weapons, not just more ammo, but better weapons, and I think that's as good as we're going to hope for.
So, when I'm watching a film, I want to either be watching the ideal play out,
See,
or
you mentioned this before, and that's such a weird...
or I want it to be,
so I'm still going to have to kill Salvador Dali, by the way.
or I want it to be such a tragedy that it's a decided tragedy. Like,
I think this probably fits firmly in that category. I don't see how this could fit any other category.
okay,
I'm
so
astonished
again,
you liked Do you just secretly hate Arcane?
no, I still
Have you
like
been
Arcane.
have you just been talking with me about it because I won't shut up?
No, I think Arcane's great.
Because I guess it commits to being depressing? Is that... Because I'd say this kind of commits to being depressing.
Yes, but again, here, let me explain again my experience of the film. As I was watching Locke, on that very last turn, when he slows down, I was thinking he was just going to drive straight around the curve.
What a relief.
Just...
I did have that thought, but I also think that would have soured the opinion, because the whole point of the movie is doing the right thing is right regardless of the consequences, and that would have been a way of running away.
Agreed.
Which he is opposed to
Which he
because
was
of his
talking
history
about-
with his dad.
That's the part of me that goes...
Nikki.
that I'm torn, because on an artistic level,
we'll do that.
it was done brilliantly, and it communicated a very clear message. That was, I think, a positive message.
Then
But-
what else can you want from a film? To be done well and to
Not-
communicate something worth communicating.
Not monotony.
I didn't think it was, but...
It
compelling. How can it be monotonous if it's compelling?
It's
Because a thing that's monotonous is by definition not compelling. Well, no, I suppose by definition it's single tone, but I mean we're not using it in that definition.
I certainly am.
It
How
wasn't.
could you-
Well, it wasn't.
It was certainly single tone.
No,
I mean,
because things happen. Things that are variances happen.
But
it isn't
it was-
literally.
but it
if
was-
it was just him driving and not speaking for an hour and a half, that would be monotonous.
It felt that way at times.
I didn't, because I felt like every time he gets on the phone, it's like, okay, something's either about to go wrong or maybe decently. Like, but the chances of it going wrong are what makes the phone calls something you are nervous about whenever they happen.
I don't know that I had the same emotional tensions about it you did.
That's odd to me, though, because why?
I agree
Like,
that it's odd to me because normally I'm the more emotional of the two of us. I think that
I think shanking orcs has done something to you. I think you're turning cold.
I feel cold.
I don't know where I'm going. I thought, do I have another quest after this, or do I go straight back to work?
I just felt
Okay, so I do still have to kill him. Alright, that's unfortunate, which means some of the ammo I just got I'm going to end up blowing, but nothing to be done about that.
I think there would have... If he had... Here, let me put it
If
this
it
way.
had ended well, you would have liked it better? Because I think that's a...
No, I didn't expect him to... I think that would have actually been a poorer ending. Like, if he would have just been like, there is no consequence. I'm doing the right thing, and I still get everything. It's like, no, that's not how that works. Like,
Where's this quest I have to do?
you don't get to have your cake and eat it too. That is not certainly the truth in life. So
This is an active quest, is it not? Why is it not telling me where to go?
that would have actually been a poorer ending.
Well, I don't see how you think it should have ended if you're acknowledging the other ending possibility wouldn't have been good.
It's not that it ended badly. It wasn't the ending that bothered me.
Apparently you just can't handle
It's that
stuff that doesn't
it
go
just
well.
felt... No, it's not even that it didn't go well. It just did not feel very sensational. It was very...
Well, by what definition? Like, ground? Because again, I would have told you it's certainly no blockbuster.
It's the best part and the worst part about the movie, in my opinion, which is that Ivan Locke is somebody you could easily meet on a street.
Well, but how is that the worst part about it? Because that's the best thing about a story with a relatable protagonist is kind of the thing on which most films live and die.
But it's got to be.
It has to be either relatable or no, that would be an inspirational character.
But so maybe
someone that calls you to be like, I want to be like this guy. But that ends up. I mean, that could end up becoming
this one
very much a
just made me end
superhero-y
up,
trope.
No, and I'm not saying that everything needs to be that, but this one ended up making me go, I feel both sad for him and a little bit like, yeah, sucks to be you. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
you made your bed.
Well, but I think is the fact that he's made his bed and is willing to lie in it. That's where I go. A lot of times, a character who screws up and then you feel like, if you feel like you want to say to the character, you need to lie in the bed you've made, usually that ends up being a sort of villainous character who's attempting to escape their consequences.
Agreed.
So the fact that this is a character acknowledging that and facing it is what I think makes it a positive thing.
I agree with that too. But do you
just
not
don't like the fact that it's a downer?
No, it's not even a downer. Did you not agree though that it just felt very normal?
I mean,
like this is
not exact. I mean,
Ivan Locke felt like this could literally be a friend next door that we just happened to have a conversation, like an hour and a half conversation at one point about his recent life.
You're supposed to be Mr. Empathy. I thought you'd care about the everyday lives of regular people. Because this is not exactly... You wouldn't exactly call this every day. This is not an unusual occurrence. Things like this happen in people's lives. But it's not like this happens every day in people's lives.
On a cultural level, I would say so.
No, because how many people do you know who've gone through this? of all the people you know. It's like, yeah, you can probably
Quite a
name
few.
Yeah, you can name a few, but what percentage is that of all the people you know?
Well, I mean, I'm maybe 20.
And again, it
but
makes
still.
you, and I think it's the fact that it makes you care about it rather than just being, here's a thing that happened to a guy. I forgot this was trapped. Don't make me waste my nice new ammo, bro. I just bought all this. I've got a chick in the future I'm trying to save. I'm saving my future girlfriend. Oh, you should have just ate it.
Your phony heart.
That's what he said to me just now. I'd like to point out that got him square in his patched eye. Like, come on.
Maybe it's titanium patch and it just bounced
Could
off.
be the Kevlar. I'm nervous about loading latest save because I don't know when it's auto-saved. I don't want to go back to the fight and have to buy all the stuff again. Plus, now that I think about it, we could probably also scavenge for more ammo from the guys we're going to fight in the sewers again. So this, if I'm careful with not wasting, I could probably end up with a net positive of ammo out of this. So
That's probably true.
going back was probably smart. Sorry to everyone who's probably going to be saying, you should have skipped this and told us you did it and then not made us watch it. Then we couldn't talk about this. We would have played this in silence for 2 hours and then been too angry to talk.
It's not that I had tension with the
I
movie
found it a very
itself.
emotionally tense film.
No. For me,
And
not.
that's weird. Why not? Because you could certainly argue that it is emotionally tense, whether or not you felt it.
Of course I did. What do you think I am?
I don't know
Like, do you
that
not recognize
I felt
the
like it
significance
was
of like this
emotionally
this guy's life is about to fall apart?
He was more frustrated with the loss of his situation on a career level than
I
he
don't
was
agree, because he was most calm about that.
No.
He puts the most effort into trying to still fix it, not fix it as in to get it. He does, because I think you're right in saying he does a sort of honorable thing where he's going, that's not as much of a spoiler, so I don't know that maybe that, because I don't know that we'll be able to discuss more of it. Despite being, I'm trying to decide. I don't know that it's, he attempts to ensure that things go well for his work regardless of whether or not things go well for him.
Right.
So I think he puts a lot of effort into doing that, but I don't
Which is
think
an
that's the
honorable
same.
thing.
Again, I don't think that's the same as him saying he's far more distressed about the interpersonal aspects with other people in his life than he is about his job. About the status of his job. He's concerned, obviously, about what his job was about, and he's trying to make sure that that can still go on. I mean, we're essentially already acknowledging the fact that he gets, as I said, he acknowledges that he's probably going to get fired as a result of this, and he does.
Got no honor.
I don't think we can.
Well,
I think we've made
there's
it
nothing
clear enough by what
The
we've
other
talked
thing is
around
there's nothing definitive in the film.
Hands is gone.
No, it
because-
doesn't tell you. It doesn't show you how it ends, which in some ways I think is the best option. See,
Like-
this should absolutely take it
Like,
out.
in other words,
There you go.
okay, and it did.
So that Kevlar patch is what did it last time. I didn't want to kill you, bro. You didn't have to die. You at least did it stylishly, though. I mean, that's a laissez-faire kind of look. I mean, he is quite literally laissez-faire, but... All right, ammo. Net positive on ammo already.
We don't know that he actually gets canned. We know that they talk
We
about
know that he
it,
gets...
but-
Well, no, he does, because it happens in the film. We don't know of
Yes,
the other
but
aspects.
does it stick is the question.
Well, probably with
because
that
a lot
particular...
of
probably
jobs
with that
threaten
particular...
that you're fired, and then it's
Well, no,
like,
that's not a threat. You can't... You can threaten someone with being fired, but you can't actually fire someone and then retract it. You'd have to...
no, but people can come back in and go, but am I really not working for you, given that I'm the best employee you have?
Yeah, but that's, I think, that's an unrealistic expectation of film. I don't think that actually happens in real life that much.
Sure it does. Why wouldn't you go back in and say,
Because that would be... I don't think this character would do that, because he's a very arrogant character. Or he's not a very arrogant character.
A little closer.
Okay,
Sure.
where you at, bro?
Hey, you crow.
Who's gonna fire first? Is it me? Yeah, apparently it was. That was really dumb. I don't know what you waited for, pal. So I spent 2 bullets this round, and I'm getting a bunch. So this was positive.
So
I think the fact that it doesn't have a
didn't
definitive ending isn't bad, because I think it allows you to essentially, it allows you to basically decide what you think would most likely happen. Because you could say, well, the relationships that sort of are strained to the point of potentially falling apart, they could theoretically be resolved. So maybe they don't stay, trashed. You could imagine in your mind a positive outcome for this if you felt the need to. And the question would then be how disingenuous that would seem, or not to you. So I think the fact that they leave it open-ended is a positive, because that means that you could, if it would bother you too much that things go poorly, you could maybe in your mind conceive of ways, well, maybe it doesn't go all the way to pot. Maybe there are certain elements that he's able to salvage. Maybe you could think of it as more positive, or you could think maybe it is entirely negative. In which case, him doing it still maintains that sort of noble quality of facing the music. I don't really need these.
I will say it this way: this is I'm trying to clarify. I did not. I understood why. In watching the film, I can understand why people have called it one of Tom Hardy's best performances. I can understand why on an independent art film level, it was a fantastic made film. It was a fantastic film as far as the communication of what it accomplished, all that kind of stuff.
That is the weirdest revolver design.
Did I appreciate the film? Yes. Did I like the film? No.
But see, I don't know that I have such bizarrely arbitrary splits.
I didn't enjoy watching it, but I appreciated what it was. I don't know
that I enjoy it in the sense of... Okay, well, first I'd like to comment on just the revolver, because did you see it? It's not a top break, it's a side break. It breaks in half. Like the handle and the barrel split like this rather than on the top.
That wouldn't make any sense.
Well, it would. It's no different than a top break. It just would require...
The hinge would be...
It would have to
be...
it would have to be a beefy hinge, but this is a future gun, so who knows. I will have to use an explosive for this, and again, I need all of my explosives. So I'm literally going to have to drop something to pick this up, because I don't have that, and I don't want to waste any of my others. What does enjoying a film entail? Because I enjoyed Arcane despite the fact that it is a very dark and sad story.
It's a dark and sad story, but there are inspirational characters in it.
I would say there are relatable characters. There's a relatable character in this.
Relatable, yes. I don't know that I would call him inspirational.
Well, on a human level, I would, because again...
Humanistic, certainly.
And I think there is an element of inspiration in that, in a sense of you can do the right thing even if you're not involved in a heroic struggle for your life. It's like you can also... Sometimes the right thing is as mundane as accepting the consequences for your actions. Sometimes that's the best thing you can do. And that's the fact that is such a human thing, I think, is part of the positivity of it.
Yeah.
So
I just came away from it going...
I wouldn't say
I don't know that I needed to have
watch.
seen
I'm gonna flush him out.
Well, I don't think I needed to see it either, but who needs to see anything?
No, of course not, but I'm just saying, there are certain films that when you haven't seen it, you definitely, once you see it, go, wow, I'm glad I saw that, and that really was impactful, whatever else. This one...
You killed your friend, you doofus!
Within Tom Hardy's filmography or cinematography or whatever you want to call it.
Okay, I'm wasting ammo here.
I'm glad I know that it existed and that I've seen it.
What happened?
Is it one of my favorite performances of his? No, because to me...
But subjectively or technically?
Subjectively. 100%. That's why I'm struggling, because here's the thing.
I suppose I can value both equally.
Doing
that's a lot. Thank you.
Doing one character the entire movie is really difficult, because I'm not just a verbal person.
Oh, it's everywhere.
And he was
Sorry.
He was only talking on the phone, which only gives you, and to a credit to the actress and actresses or whatever,
voice actor
and
people.
yeah,
I thought
those
one thing that
people,
was
the fact that they were
fascinating-
able to communicate that much emotion.
Well, I think what's
and-
fascinating about that is they actually said, I went into a rabbit trail of learning how it was done. Those were actually recorded live. Those weren't pre-recorded things. He actually was on the phone with people in a fake set. That was basically, they had a conference room in which all the phone call people were in.
Huh.
And so they were actually calling to him while they were filming, and those were live conversations.
So,
Which I think is the reason they come across as so natural, because it's not him responding to a recorded voice.
I think that part was, again, on an objective level, it's fantastic because there's so much on an artistic level that was pulled off really well.
That's, I guess, what's weird to me.
and was
is I don't-
excellent. But I did not actually go, wow, I'm really enjoying this film.
Well, but again, what involves enjoyment? Because I don't... Why do some people watch horror movies? Is it because that's fun? No, of course not in the moment to moment. You don't enjoy... I mean, usually it's not because you enjoy gross or sort of harrowing things. It's because the experience is an experience worth having, even if it's not like... Because enjoyment, I think, carries with it the connotation of it being a positive thing. I am Crackshot McGee today. Woo-hoo, he's spazzed out. I am the Noodles Floater.
What in the world? Their heads explode.
I got a bullet with your gray matter on it. Literally. Whoop. I picked up stuff.
Enjoyment for me
ammo for
is
days.
not just...
So you acknowledge that it's not... A film doesn't have to be positive to be enjoyable.
Oh, no, I'm not suggesting that.
I have so much ammo I can't fit it. That's a problem I've never had.
What's a good...
I don't know. Tell me.
like
How
I would
does
say,
this differ from Les Mis? Because that, again, is a sad film that ends with a sad thing, but
there's
it's
so
about
much-
a good man.
But it's so much more dynamic because there are
more things happen. But I mean, is that it?
That is a huge part of it. I was really struggling with not the pace. That's not even the issue. It was as someone who looks to body language and environmental
And you don't think
factors
Tom
and
Hardy
everything else.
alone was enough? Because I felt like his performance.
That
wasn't.
part he was 100%. That's why I'm like, I give him
all of it.
I give him a high degree of credit, but I think that it still lacked. Here's the thing: even if they would have had one scene at the very end with the chick or whatever else and the baby or something, that would have made it feel less one-dimensional for me than just I'm stuck in a car with this guy awkwardly who's having his life fall apart.
You've got to help me.
Like,
You've got
Yeah, but in a way, doesn't that not invoke the same emotion in you that he's probably feeling? The sense that there's no
Certainly.
easy out to this? Because I feel like that's totally...
but
not
again,
only is
that
done-
speaks to the whole artistic thing again. That's
Well, why
like
is
it's
that
a great art film, but it's not.
Well, because again, that's purposeful. It's saying it's essentially forcing you to feel the same emotion as the guy, because you're going,
It was so.
I wish this would be not this way, and of course he's thinking that same thing.
I didn't remove anything. Swear it.
There was nothing technically wrong, and on an objective level,
Do a switch.
the film was fantastic. I cannot deny that. I thought that on an objective level, there were many things about it that I went, wow. Tom Hardy's compelling. The fact that they're doing so much with so little is compelling. The fact that they communicate their message very clearly is great. But I felt that it didn't.
The GPLs are still transmitting. Sandoval switched them
It
to a
was not a film that held my attention well.
Anywhere in the world.
And I think also
The type of equipment we'll need.
was one that
It's our only lead, Pritchard. You have to do something.
I know.
I felt like I was always looking for the film to
Back to your apartment and Malik will fly you over.
maybe climax is the right word.
I'll have figured out something.
And I just don't feel like it ever did, in my opinion. It was just kind of like maybe arguably the loss of, or maybe the tensions in the interpersonal relationships would be a climax. But I'm like,
I felt like they were because or is it the fact that they leave it open ended? Is that part of the problem?
no, they don't leave it open ended. I mean, she's fairly.
Well, they do in the sense
direct
that it's
about
it's not concluded, and because those. I don't know that it was a conclusive ending. It's much more of a. Because that's the kind of thing that can change over time is people's reactions to those things.
Well, but that's why I just go. It felt so normal to real life.
And is that seems
That
to
I
me
just
that's a
went-
positive thing. So I don't know why that would be negative to you.
It's not that it's a negative. It's just, again, isn't exciting. It's
Well,
not.
but see, again, I would have told you it's not exciting. Because again, it's not a blockbuster. I fully agree. This would not have been a great movie to see in theaters because it would have been totally opposite of what most theater experiences are like. You're just regular people. I am too. I don't have a gun. I don't have 8 guns strapped to me. You could be though. What are these belts for?
unless you've got a rudder and a lot of sails hidden in that bodice.
She's got plenty of cabling if that's what we need. This didn't take us nearly as long as last time. I just want to point out this took us like all of the episode last time to kill Salvador Dali, and apparently it was just because we don't focus enough. Because when we are focused, we can get things done nice and quick.
I think the problem is right now is that my
Where's my boingo knees?
logical.
My boingo knees. Did I not do so? We must have gone back since the last time we upgraded.
It's that my right brain and left brain are at odds. My objective.
See, I don't find
kind
that
of-
at odds personally.
Because the right brain kind of I need to the kind of artistic
Well,
side
I can jump so high that I hurt myself. That's stupid.
can appreciate some of the artistic points about it and the kind of
Resisting arrest.
systematic, more task-driven left brain side is far more like, okay, I can understand why it would have been Tom Hardy's best performance. Again, they did a lot with it.
And this,
so little,
but
all
this,
kind of
you
stuff.
see, the fact that this causes dissonance is what I think is strange. Because
It
to
was
me,
just boring.
I don't agree, and that's what I'm confused.
That's the
about.
only part. It was super well executed. The message came through loud and clear, but the actual content itself, as far as watching the film,
But I don't see.
The
See, that's where I
experience
don't
of the
quite
film
get
was
that
just
is
boring.
because I don't see how it can be compelling and boring. It's like-
message is compelling
yeah, but
and
how is
well communicated.
but
the content
the
of
argument
the movie
would be
is boring.
okay. But see, that's like saying a philosophical text is boring to read, but of great value intellectually.
It is sometimes.
Yeah, but why is that? That doesn't diminish the value of it.
No,
in my
it's
opinion.
not. No, I agree. It doesn't.
Well, so to levy it as criticism, I think is bizarre.
I'm not levying it as criticism. I'm just simply saying it's not an. Again, it's
I
not
would have told
an
you it's not an
engaging film.
I disagree with engaging. I would say it's not an exciting film. Certainly, engaging because I find it to be you engage with the character.
But you mentioned this kind of tension with phone calls and this idea of, oh, they really build up this kind of almost suspense within
I feel like
what's
they did a
happening in
well.
his life.
I think they did it well in the sense of, a classic bit of writing prompt advice is, what does the character want, and what are all the ways that can go wrong. So it's like I think they did a good job of. They kept it feasible, but they did manage to keep throwing things in that it's like, okay, the situation's only getting worse. As the ride goes on, things only really get worse.
Sure.
And so that inevitably creates a certain sense of every time the phone rings, it's probably going to get worse again. And it's not like tension where it's like, oh, don't answer it. It's not like a horror movie, but I'm just like,
It's going to get worse again.
it's only going to get worse. So it's not like,
kind of serve him right. See, that's the part I
yes
feel like
and
you're
no.
not.
It's one of those things where I recognize it's like I'm not saying he doesn't deserve what's happening, but what fascinates me isn't the fact that that's happening. It's the fact that he's facing it with such resolve. I find
But
that to be
I
an
think
inspirational
that's the part. That's
message.
part of the dissonance. Is like, oh, you cannot then though claim to have him be
You can
some
have
sort
sympathy.
of moral.
You can have sympathy for someone getting what they deserve and facing it nobly.
nobility, maybe.
'Cause you can say- 'cause
it's
you can-
certainly not moral.
Because it's cathartic.
Objectivity.
It's cathartic when someone who deserves punishment and who is trying to weasel their way out of it gets it. That's why.
Agreed.
That's why seeing villains defeated is
Agreed.
is something you want to see because you think you deserve this, and attempting to escape it only makes you more deserving of it.
Right.
Whereas someone who says, "I acknowledge that I screwed up, I will face the consequences," that doesn't make you go, "Well, then you don't deserve the consequences." But there is a nobility in saying, that's why if you plead guilty, you tend to get a lower charge. They don't give up the charge. You're still going to have to pay for it. But the fact that you acknowledge, I will face the consequences of my actions, shows that you are already someone capable of the
Sure.
rehabilitation that this punishment may bring about.
But it's like, good then.
Well, it's like good. It's
Like,
it's
I didn't
inspiring,
get to
especially
feel-
in this age
I
when
didn't
people
get
do attempt to escape
I
consequences so
agree,
much.
but I didn't get to feel.
I think we're ready.
either
I'm nervous to
emotion.
do this because I would still like more ammo,
I did
but I think I've got a
not
lot
get
now.
to feel
Richard's family.
the.
You said
No, forget you. You do have to actually own this or whatever else.
Yeah, but see, that's
I
just you
also
have.
did
I think
not-
you have a weird,
But I also
like,
did not get to.
vindictive, like people must pay,
Well, that's certainly true.
and I don't disagree with it, but I think
But I also did not get to go. Wow, what an inspirational guy! He's such a picture of morality. He was
I
neither.
wouldn't say that either.
It was again. It was very human.
But that's you are that too.
I know.
So to say,
but why
here's
would
an
I
ex-
want to watch myself in film?
It's not yourself though. It's about it's not you specifically. It's the human experience. It's something you will hopefully never face.
Sure.
But to see it faced, and it's essentially the message that you can face these things. Ultimately, that's the core message of it. Is you can actually endure the consequences of your screw ups, and that is a good thing to do. Like
I don't know that it encourages that it's a good thing to do because I mean it's not like
his
he
whole
benefited from it.
well, no, but that's the whole point. Is he knows he's not going to benefit from it, but he's going to do it because it's the right thing to do. He himself says that several times. It's like that, and so I think that's it's not like what a paragon, you should be like him, but it's the acknowledgement that you are going to screw up. Hopefully not as much as he did. But even if it was as much as he did, there is still a right way forward from that point. Because the idea that like once you've crossed this line, you deserve nothing but scorn. I don't know that I feel that way.
Maybe
You
I
seem to do.
Maybe I do sometimes.
Well, but see, to me, the only people who deserve that are the people who attempt to escape it. It's like if you do something stupid and then you attempt to blame the world for the consequences of your stupidity, that just heaps more fault on you.
And yeah,
But people who say, I am willing to accept that, that's a way of that. I mean, that's essentially, that is the concept of penance. It's like, I am going to accept the consequences of my actions. And so it's cathartic, not in a justice sense, although I suppose you could say it somewhat, but it's cathartic in the sense of nobility and suffering. It's very Russian. I'm not sure why you don't like it. It could have been a Russian film.
you're not wrong. See, that's the thing is.
Would you have liked it more if it was Russian? Would you have given it a bit of passage because of cultural difference?
No, I don't.
It's British. That's enough cultural difference.
I genuinely don't think it was. I think you're acting like I'm saying it was a bad film. It really
Well,
wasn't.
boring and banal are not things you would apply to good things. Mundane, maybe, but I think
maybe
without the
that's
connotation.
maybe that was a more precise word. I was trying to be.
But today I'm here as a
I was
I
trying
don't
to
think
expound
mundane
a
things
little
are
bit.
inherently bad.
quite turbulent.
No, but they're certainly not engaging in.
I don't agree, because
film
life
form.
is often mundane.
Being urged.
Agreed.
And so,
because of the text.
so are you
but
just an
film
attempt?
shouldn't-
Are you no? Because if you're
Film
going to say
shouldn't,
film
like-
should be escapist, I don't
No,
agree.
no, it's not. It's not that it should be escapist. It's just it should reflect
He's asked me.
The best?
more.
I don't agree.
No, it should reflect a greater.
Industry regulation.
not extreme.
I think
but
you
almost
actually are more Randian on this than I am.
Randian.
You haven't read the book yet, because essentially Rand, in her personal opinion, she doesn't describe this as being the objective fact, but she basically describes that she agrees with very much a sort of classic, not just classical, but classicist view of sort of art, that it should only focus on that which is admirable.
No, I'm not even saying that.
Because essentially, and the argument she
then
makes...
you don't have the issue. Then you have the issue of saying that tragedies shouldn't exist.
Essentially, that would be the
which
point
is
of
not.
that.
I don't agree.
Well,
with that.
but I think you're on that doorstep.
I'm not.
It should only be.
It's either or. It can't be neither.
I don't agree, because I would
If
say
it's
this.
neither, what is it? Is it?
Well, because I would argue that this I would put this in a tragedy sort of framework, and even there's more kinds of stories than tragedies and hero dramas. There are plenty. I mean, there's dozens. I mean, the argument that there's only a select number of archetypal stories is true, but it's not two. There's a handful of different story types.
And you feel like this falls into a tragedy, do you?
More certainly than anything else. I mean, tragedies are usually about flawed people with noble goals. Oftentimes. Flawed people undone by their flaws, but not wicked people, usually. Because then it's not a tragedy, then it's like you get what you deserve.
Right. Fair. That's fair.
Alright, I'm going to save you in this timeline.
Richard tracks it.
Sorry, I should have said that out loud.
If he's alive, there's a chance the rest of them are too.
That's a pretty.
I think that would have been
We've been making big leaps.
more clear had I seen at least
Whatever you
one
say.
other
You
character
ready to get going?
at the end of the film.
Why would that have made the difference?
No time like the present. Let's get going.
Then hop in.
Resolve to
Well, so you do wish that it ended more concretely in some aspects.
concretely is a good word for it. Not cathartically. I don't need it to end well. It just
So
needs
you
to be
didn't
more...
like that it was open-ended.
Yeah, I don't tend to like open-ended. That is certainly.
Well, so do you have as much of the problem with Inception as I do? That's my only quibble about Inception is the ending.
Right. Me too. Because
And I
it
think it could have been- I think-
forces me to squabble with idiots about whether or not
Yeah, and that's
he's dreaming or not.
Yeah. That's why I maintain that literally the only thing it would have had to done is wait like an extra 2 seconds, and then the film would be fine. Because the top doesn't have to fall over, but to see it wobble, which if you do a frame by frame, it's about to start wobbling, but it's not enough to shut the idiots up.
I think we've come to really the. I don't feel like potting with it. We've come to it. No, I think we've come to really the main thrust of my
You're
issue.
just vindictive.
Bye, boy.
Well, I thought we learned this last week.
Well, I mean, shanking orcs is one thing. Apparently, you'd like to shank real people.
That. Suppose you can
No, I'm not. It's not a vindictive issue. I do agree with you that it is a tragedy in the film. I don't know that I specifically framed it that way originally because, I don't
it's
think
not
there's so
it's
much
not a
that
Greek
goes
tragedy
wrong. Right,
of like,
exactly.
wow, what a just total calamity. It's like, it's a very human tragedy, but again, that's what happens to people usually. Most
Right.
people don't, end up
Life
accidentally.
goes on.
Yeah, most people don't accidentally end up sleeping with their mother and killing their father. Like if
That's not what this film is about.
no,
by the
it's
way.
not. Thankfully, it's like if that's what you think a tragedy needs to be in the Greek sense, it's like not even all the Greek tragedies are like that.
No, yeah. In that it is
All right,
a tragedy.
I will save you this time.
Took some damage. Gonna need it.
I'm gonna see how good the damage upgrade on my pistol is, because if I can get by using it,
cover you.
I'd like
More,
to.
yeah.
Like for these regular guys, I could probably make do. Well, if he, I got an armor piercing upgrade, pal. I mean, it would help if I hit you. Okay, so that armor piercing, that's not enough. I'm gonna restart.
To be fair, you didn't pop him in the noodle. You
I
initially
didn't.
just
Well, I think I
tipped
got
him off to
I
the fact
did-
that you were there.
I got him a couple times in the head, and he's still deflected. So I mean, it's not a one hit. So I need one hit type stuff. You know what I should have got? I need energy packs because the ability to knock guys out will be helpful.
Yeah.
Because that I forgot about. Or do I start this with all 3 of my energy cells? I don't think I do. Because I don't think that's what's really annoying is that they don't regenerate. Only one regenerates at a time. The others have to have some kind of fuel input, like you have to eat something.
After eating something, I drink something.
Oftentimes I shoot something too. Because that's my Typhoon ammo is also linked to that energy, so that means I can only use it for as long as it takes to energize.
Company.
I don't think always.
No, we're still not about Typhoon.
So okay, again, recon this time. I feel like I'm running a clinical trial. Alright, this time we're using the revolver. Subject is unaware. Oh, he's aware. Subject committed self-immolation. Hi, does this smell like gunpowder? Whoa, I knocked him down. That didn't kill him, but that's powerful. The revolver may have been a good thing to keep. I'm glad we didn't toss it this time.
So
that
it
probably
is a
would have
tragedy.
If it knocked big guy down, that
And it
probably
is
would kill
certainly
one.
a humanistic tragedy. I think the thing that it felt so familiar is not the right word. It felt so normal to everyday life that people deal with. That
But you've never
that
dealt
I-
with it, so
No,
is it
of
not
course
an interesting sense of like, yes, it's normal, but I've never dealt with it. I wouldn't have this kind of insight normally into what it's actually like.
See that this is the disadvantage of me being in ministry, is because whether or not I've been there personally, I do have the insight because of many people that I've counseled and spoken to. So it's like,
I suppose, but were any of them this? Did you have this much detail and insight, or just like I know what happened, but rather?
fairly
Because again, this isn't about knowing what happened. It's
Insightful.
about like how it happens. This is explosive. It is.
he just
Okay.
lays down like,
So this won't get him in the noggin.
this is
All right,
your
come on.
deathbed.
So I can fire this. Oh, I love it. I love it.
I'm gonna have.
No, that was a guy in the game.
Are you
I'm
positive?
very confident because that's right by my head. Okay, so this is still unwieldy despite... Okay, I'm going to have to reload. The sniper rifle with the laser attachment is very useful, but it is still a bit unwieldy, so... Okay, if you make it louder, then all the mic's probably picking it up.
No, it's not.
I'm seeing it. I mean, okay, that was me just talking just now, but it's bigger than it. You need an earwig or something for those.
I do think that the main issue that I had was that I just felt like it needed to be a more extreme version of one or the other. So in your in your comment about
That's very
Rand,
non-Taoist of you.
it's true, but I'm not saying that it has to
Who
be.
said I was a Taoist?
I'm not saying that it has to be
Company.
films. I feel like should highlight.
I'll stay and cover you.
It's not that it has to be even caricature-y, so I'm not even saying that. It's just
You'll be a city cop.
there's a part of it that I want it to be definitive. I don't want open end. So part of it is that
What?
the end
What?
is
Oh, okay, so that was...
he turned like a soldier on steroids.
Okay,
Like
okay.
just,
What were you? No. Ha 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 ha. This is actually not going as bad as it feels. Hi, son. You could use an extra hole. There you go. Alright, they haven't even dropped the big boys yet. I should get out my big boy bombs. I'm bombing all the big boys now. Bomb him! Son of a gun! I put it on his face!
what?
I stuck the mine to his face as he opened up. I'm sad that he killed me because I wanted to see how he would have looked. That would have been kind of funny to watch his head explode.
The thing about the film though is that it communicates, morality and doing the moral thing is worth it even if you don't reap no consequence. But it also at the same time communicates that your mistakes don't happen in a vacuum. So it's like it happens in,
These are all
but it's
excellent
such
points.
Yeah, I
And
agree,
those aren't
but
at odds.
it's not that they're at odds. It just feels like
We're already a bit over time, so we're going to have to conclude an opinion on this. So, what do you finish with
I've really already said my opinion, which is that I've appreciated the film. I didn't like the film.
Well, I suppose my counter to that then, as a wrap-up, is perhaps I am more...
You'll be a city
I don't view those as being all that necessarily different.
What appreciation versus
Like, again, we talked about Inception a while ago, that we both agree it's probably a near perfect film in terms of its execution, but neither of us are like emotionally gripped by it. Okay, come on, pal. And that is in no way to me a diminishing evaluation, because to me both sides are equal. Arcane stands alone because it hits hard on both fronts. You would probably say the same thing of Peaky Blinders.
Yes.
I don't expect everything to do that. Like,
And see, there's
and
part
very
of it-
few things do, as a matter of fact. Like, I think the Star Wars films hit very, I mean, this is again speaking as a prequel fan, they hit very strong thematic elements that I really appreciate, and I can appreciate them despite their technical flaws.
Sure.
On the same hand, I can appreciate films like Inception, or I'm trying to think of another example like that. I'm not sure that I can offhand, but it's like films that are masterfully executed but maybe don't grab me. I don't think of them as going, well, you know, I probably wouldn't have seen that if I had known. I'd go, it's still interesting to me as someone who appreciates film as an art form.
So in that case, yes.
So to me, they
as a
both
film
is like, that's a Blue Moon kind of, this immediately goes into the Hall of
and
Favorites kind of
it's
thing.
It's possible that
things that
this
have
is,
one or the other will balance out.
To be fair, this is the first thing I've seen since watching Peaky Blinders that was actually new in cinema. So it's possible that I'm just tainted from the fact that I'm looking for that kind of experience now in multiple things. Because I would agree with you that on a film buff level, it was a good film.
I suppose I
Like,
could
it's
maybe...
worth knowing that.
I suppose having... Because the only thing I could compare it to was when I watched Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, I did definitely feel a sense of like, I'm not probably going to have this again for a while. I mean, that was the first thing that struck me hard since I watched Arcane. It's like I went from Arcane, and then several months later, it was like I watched that and went, here's a similar kind of thing where it manages to hit both sides really strong. And then so I can agree with that sense of like, I'm not going to get this for a while, am I? But I don't view that.
It still felt like
again,
there was
I don't view
something
that as
missing
I don't
coming
view that
away
as a negative thing. I view that as like, and it's a bit of, again, we are not actually Buddhists, by the way. I know we might sound a lot like it, but there is the Taoist thing of, it's like, the fact that this only comes along rarely does make me appreciate it all the more. So
it's true.
I can't have it. I wouldn't appreciate this if it wasn't a rare thing.
Always a thing. Yeah, that's true. And again, so I would say if you are a film buff or enjoy films for film's sake, it's a fantastic movie. Tom Hardy did a great job in it. He really did. And the communications that it states, or that it, the themes that it communicates are very well done, and I think are worthwhile themes. So all that to say, yes, I definitely appreciated the film. I think that's the only word I would use.
Well,
is
but see that.
appreciated.
So I suppose if I may put some words in your mouth and tell me if this is incorrect.
Please don't do that.
You would say maybe the best way to put it, because you've said some somewhat inflammatory things, maybe not inflammatory, but some more pointed things than I think you mean based on what you've said since.
Maybe.
Would you say it's fair to say that it's a great film that just didn't hit you where you live?
Okay, yeah.
And I guess in my perspective, it didn't, I wouldn't say it like hit me right where I live, but I think it hit me a little bit, but even if it didn't, I guess to me, it doesn't have to hit me where I live, only knowing that it is strong enough that it will hit someone where they live, I'm sure. And again, that's because of how technically excellent it is.
That is a very true statement. It will hit somebody on a level of like, this could be me right now.
Well, and some people it probably is.
Right.
Because again, it's a very human thing.
Agreed, totally. 100%.
Okay, so you just may not be as much of a the technicality of film enjoyer as I am.
It's not that I don't.
I think you probably like the narrative of a film. Like, what is it about?
Yes, exactly.
Whereas to me, I can be satisfied by either. I'm probably more satisfied by what it's about than how good it is, because I can see through flaws much more easily than strict film critics can. That's why, I mean, again, I'm a prequel fan. That should be all the context you know. I can certainly look past flaws if I can see the heart of what they were trying. So
And-
I think that's where I hang my hat, but I think
You
a
could
really
you
solid,
could be
excellent-
satisfied with either, and I would say good. Like if I were to come away from a movie and say that's a good movie, it's because it satisfied both to various degrees. Now,
and clearly both enough.
right, this one
You can't survive
really
on one or the other.
satisfied. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know
like
that I
if
could
it's
satisfy
poorly
on one
if it's poorly executed, but
entirely.
it's great narrative, I still go. But if it's
See, I would still feel that it was. I would still feel a little bit of a lost potential of like, had it been better, it could have. It could have been even
right.
more excellent.
This one, I would say there is literally nothing they could have done better. It was a fantastic film objectively, and I would say on a technical level, I'm glad I watched it as a film buff. However, it just didn't really, again, like you said, it didn't really hit home. It didn't hit a mark that I was like, yeah, that was, yeah.
Okay, well,
So,
alrighty then.
there you go.
There's almost an hour and a half, but we're set up for this fight. I have much better outlook now on life and this fight.